Welcome to Time for Health. I'm your host, Rachel Fall, and we're very glad you're here. We're always here to share information with you with an expert in the field. As always, anything that we say, don't necessarily take that as your own personal medical advice. Always check with your healthcare provider. But today we are talking about all kinds of programs, most of them related to senior services. And so our illustrious guest is Diane Mortensen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So you are the Director of Senior Resources in Ottawa County.
Yes.
So all things seniors.
Pretty much everything seniors. We have 6 senior centers across the county. We have a home delivered meal program that serves about 250 meals a day. We have a home care assistance program, and then we also help with an adult day program. Those are our main 4 things that we cover in the county.
Okay, very cool. And one of the programs or initiatives I know that you work on, because I help too, is Project Lifesaver. So talk a little bit about Project Lifesaver.
So Project Lifesaver, actually very interesting. We are one of the very first counties that ever brought that program to their county. It came from California. It is set up to help those individuals who may wander or have some inability to keep track of themselves. And what it is a device that they wear. It's called a transmitter. And then if they would wander away and their family or their relatives are unable to find them, then they would be able to be tracked, you might say, with a nice little thing that looks like a big TV, old-time TV antenna.
And it's radio frequency.
Radio frequency, and each person has their own radio frequency. It's not a GPS. We've actually been very fortunate. We now, not only seniors are involved with it, but we also have our adult or our DD population, mostly autistic kids, because they do have that tendency to wander. Sure. We actually have some people in mental health as well that we've been able to help with it. I think we have 16 or 17 clients.
That sounds about right, yeah.
And they are checked once a month. The Sheriff's Department is very involved, and so is Lifeline, because they can put the receiver on the Lifeline, and they can use that as a tracking. We've had, I believe, 3 rescues within our county since we started. Yeah. And I think one was a kid and 2 seniors, I believe is.
Right. How does the whole process, if someone has a loved one who is at risk for wandering, whether it's a young person with an autism spectrum disorder, or a senior, or traumatic brain injury, or whatever, what can they do, or who do they talk to?
Well, the first thing they probably should do is to. It's always good to get your physician to give, in essence, some kind of a diagnosis or some explanation of why they wander. That helps us when we're reviewing their information. Once that's happened, they can get a hold of the Sheriff's Department directly, or they can call the DD phone number that's on the brochure, and that goes to a voicemail, and then someone would call them back. If it's an older adult, it's usually going to be myself or someone who's more used to the older adults. If it's a child, then we would go with the DD staff, and they would call back, and it's actually a quite lengthy assessment, but we tried to find out as much as we can about each individual person, from their hair color to their mannerisms to their habits, just because if someone does wander away, typically they're going to wander to someplace, or they're on a mission to get someplace, and so that it's helpful to know that information.
Or if somebody doesn't, has a fear of sirens or something, well, don't let the sirens go.
Or if they're really afraid of dogs, you wouldn't want to have any kind of an animal around. We've had instances in the past where people actually like the sirens, and we've used that as a way of getting people and finding them. But I think it's probably much underutilized. I think there's probably more people in the county that could utilize it, especially with our location being here on the east end of the county. We have the lake and the rivers and all kinds of water that can be a problem. On the west end, you have more of like the rural and the woods and fields and woods, even though there may not be a lot, but that tends to attract people to them. So
once you take that information, like where is it stored, or what? Like the person wears the band
So what happens is information is collected and then returned to the sheriff's department, and one of the sheriff's deputies is basically in charge of getting, once we've established that we're going to take that person on as a new client. It is, by the way, cost-free. We do ask for a $10 a month donation per se for the batteries, because we do change them each month, but basically it's free. And then the deputy will, once we've established that, the deputy goes out to the home and basically works a relationship with that family, so that everybody that's there kind of knows the routine, knows what they have to do. The battery has to be checked by the family every day.
Okay.
And
there's
that's
a little
supposed to
device that they
Yes,
hold
there's
it
a little
up. Okay.
device. And then the batteries are actually 60-day batteries, but we do change them every 30 days, and that's basically just to make sure that we don't ever have
Right.
an issue with the batteries. They're completely waterproof, so they can go swimming, they can go to take a shower, wash their hair. You know, if we have, and we do have people who don't like watch kind of things, they don't want it on their wrist, we do also have the ability to put it on their ankle. The straps are pretty non-binding, and again, they change those out once a month as well. And then the routine begins, and they basically are on there until they no longer need that service, or they get, you know, in the case of some of the kids, as they get older, some of them tend to outgrow their wandering behaviors, and so they may not necessarily need it anymore.
And then can they just pitch that when they're done with it, or?
Oh no, please don't pitch it. Those are quite costly. Actually, the individual little thing, it looks very much like the watch that I have on, is about $400, a little over $400. And then each battery is a lot more than the $10 that we ask for.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's quite an expensive little unit,
Right.
and we can reuse it. They have over the last, now we've been involved with, Ottawa County's been involved with it since 2006, I believe.
Okay.
And they have updated the little units, so they traded those out for us. But basically, we can reuse them, and we have reused them.
Okay.
And I'm thinking that we have about 20 or 25
Okay. Sounds about right.
in our stash.
Arsenal. So what happens if someone does go wandering? Does the family just call 911, and then are there these receiver things?
There is a procedure that we ask them. Typically they say that if you can't find them within 15 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, that you should be calling 911 immediately. I always say, you know, if you have a feeling, don't wait the 10, 15 minutes. You just need to call.
Yeah.
It's better to call, be safe than sorry.
Right.
We have found some people that have sat in their car out in the driveway because they no longer can drive, but they
Gotcha.
want to, you know, or they hide someplace just because that's what they, you know, they didn't think they were doing anything wrong, really.
Right.
But when they call 911 and they let people know that they are a part of Project Lifesaver, that will immediately signal. And the sheriff's departments, there are 4 receivers across the county. Most of them are located centrally in the county, and they can very quickly dispense those to the appropriate authorities. The sheriff's departments is the lead. The local police departments also follow, and of course then we have Life Flight, and Life Flight will come in and pick up one of the receivers.
Okay.
So it works. It's in my understanding, it's worked very well, and we've never had a rescue last longer than 30 minutes from the time of the phone call. So that's
Which is a big deal to a family member whose
very,
loved one is wandering.
very, very big deal. And it's been at all different times of the day and night. So, and that's the other nice part about it. It doesn't matter whether it's day or night. We can utilize that.
Gotcha. Anything else about Project Lifesaver that I
No, I
missed?
can't think of.
Okay.
We are very excited. It's been, the Lions Club was actually the ones that brought it to us. It did, as I said, it did come out of California. We were one of the first counties in Ohio, and for a long time we were the only one. And now most of Northwest Ohio is,
surrounding counties now,
which is nice because people do travel, like they go to Kalahari with the kids, or we do. And Florida is another big area that has Project Lifesaver, and so it's nice for the seniors if they do have want to take trips, that they can take family members down and still have some coverage.
So you can, if the county that you're traveling to has Project Lifesaver, you can let them know you're coming, and then they have your information just in case anything happens.
And what we try to do, they do have a Project Lifesaver International has a really nice website that pretty much tells every place that you can go. But if you're not savvy with that, it's best just call us, and we would be willing to help you and look it up. But a lot of the places you should, if you do have Project Lifesaver, you should definitely check to see if they have it, because most places do. I think it's become much more, or if they don't have it in that county you're going to, someone surrounding you does have it.
Okay. So related to Project Lifesaver in some ways, but kind of its own entity, there is a task force on aging in Ottawa County.
Yes.
Talk about that. Amazing group of people.
It is an amazing group of people. Well, I think the Task Force on Age started out of a need to help with the ever, unfortunately, growing need to help those that are abused, neglected, and or exploited, and that does happen a lot with the senior population. They are pretty vulnerable to those things, a lot more than people realize or think about. And so with basically came out of the state and then through our probate court and Judge Giesler, we looked at putting a group together that would look at educating and basically serving as an advocate to those individuals who are involved with that. And to take it a step beyond senior resources, which is what I do, it involves anybody that serves a senior within the county. Okay. So we have a lot of different organizations involved with it, including Magruder Hospital and the court systems. We have entities like hospice. We have the Job and Family Services, who does the adult protective services, who's a very, very big part of what we do. So it's been I think it's been amazing, and in just the 5 years that we've been around, we are now 501c3, and are looking now, just starting to look at what kind of grants and what kind of projects and what kind of grants we could get to even more help the seniors. Right. So we're kind of going a step beyond just the education, but to actually maybe provide some services for individuals.
Now, one of the first things the group worked on was the protocol card. Talk a little bit about that, because that's where kind of the rubber meets the road, is making sure everybody knows what to do.
And the whole idea, again, this was an awareness issue. Not everybody thinks that a senior may be abused or may be neglected or may be exploited, but it happes every time. And there's the grandmother or grandchild that my own mother got that one from somebody calling her saying it was my son, and my mom said my son's name, Nick, and then the guy said, "Oh yeah, this is Nick." And so she continued to carry on the conversation, and it's very easy to be sucked in, even though she knew that that was probably something you couldn't do. But so the protocol card is basically people all around see what's happening with seniors, see what's happening with their maybe their garbage isn't getting picked up, maybe they're looking disheveled, perhaps there's some cars or some things that are happening at a home that they might notice. Maybe they're like us, we do home delivered meals, and we walk into, and the senior may be talking on the phone and saying, "Yeah, I'm going to send this check." So anybody that sees or hears something that may involve a senior, we have a protocol, and the protocol is basically that if you think they're in imminent danger, obviously you call 911. If you're not really sure, but you think there's something going on, you can call Adult Protective Services for the county, and you give them as much information as you can, and they will investigate that case as best they can. If it's just general information, obviously you can come to our meetings and the task force and learn more about what we do. But the idea is that we put it on a red light, green light, yellow light kind of thing, so that if it's red light, you're going to call 911. You're going to get some immediate attention. If it's yellow light, we can go the avenue of dealing with the task force. We now have an I-team, which discusses the cases in the county. And then obviously the green would be being advocate and getting the information out and helping us to get the information out to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we're back. We just started talking a little bit about the Task Force on Aging for Ottawa County, and we talked about the protocol card, but you also mentioned the I-Team. So talk a little bit more about that.
So the I-Team is a group of professionals that helps, and I look at it as a way of helping the Adult Protective Services to look at all the options that might be available beyond maybe what they can actually do. Adult Protective Services has a pretty strict protocol themselves about which cases they can accept and actually put into play, and then they have some people that really don't fit into that, but yet these people still need some assistance or help. So the idea of the I-Team is to we present a case without names and then talk about what resources are out there, what do we have, what don't we have, what can we get maybe perhaps from other counties or from the state. We've been finding out over the last couple years that the state Attorney General's office has a lot of options for us and a lot of help. So, and they've really helped us to really focus our I-Team, but it is now a requirement within the state of Ohio that every county is to have some kind of an I-Team, or every Adult Protective Services group is to have some kind of an I-Team within their county. And the idea, again, is to make people much more aware of what's happening, generally what's out there. You know, perhaps in our senior resources, we may have a case that's somewhat similar. We then would have some more resources, ideas. Even though we are senior resources, we don't always know everything. So it's nice to have some additional resources.
A little brainstorming.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. One of the other things is the Volunteer Guardian program. Excellent
program. Seniors, as they get older, sometimes even their own family members aren't necessarily the best people to help them, and so they may need a guardian, someone that will help them with their finances, even just with even day-to-day things, like visiting them in the nursing home. So Ottawa County, through the courts, and again with Judge Giesler, we looked at doing a volunteer guardianship program, something that has been done around the state in different areas, but we had not done that before. And what it really boils down to is our volunteer guardians are a way of helping the lawyers who are actually assigned to those individuals to make sure that their affairs are in order, would be the person to check up on them, making sure that they're getting the things they need. Are they, are they getting their extra spending money? Are they getting the foods that they like? Are they happy? Are their needs being met within a nursing home? Kind of thing.
These, if I'm understanding right, this can be anybody with. The court provides a little bit of in-service training and that kind of stuff, but it can be a neighbor or a stranger even, or sometimes lawyers in the area will help out with that, but it can be pretty much anybody, and it's through the court that it's maintained.
Yes, it's through the court that it's maintained because there is some very strict guidelines. They have to do some education, they have to go through some training, but because there are some issues that the volunteer guardian would have to know about the guardianship. It is usually, a guardianship is a legal binding contract, you might say, with the senior and the family, or that's happening with that person. It is something that goes through probate court. So there are some legal issues behind it. But typically, the guardians, I think, are either people who are just in general very interested in helping the senior population, or they are family members or neighbors, friends that are like, this person has nobody else, but they definitely need some help. Okay.
I know one of the fun things that we do, there is it's not because of a fun thing, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Talk a little bit about the festivities.
Yeah,
for
so
that.
the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, I think, started about 10 years ago, but we just started to get involved with it over the last 3 years. It's, again, an awareness. We're trying to make people more aware that it is happening, that that seniors, and seniors are identified at 60 and older, but that seniors are, being exploited, being abused. And it doesn't necessarily mean that physical abuse that we're talking about. There can be all kinds of different abuse. And just neglect, and even self-neglect. A lot of people, as they get older, get a little bit cantankerous, and they decide that they're running their show. And so it's okay if they don't shower for days, or, it's okay if they aren't eating properly. So we try to help identify that and make people more aware of that through this World Elder Abuse. And what we did that is kind of neat, and I say the fun part of it, is that I think it's brought a lot of our community together, much more awareness about it. I think it really does help. People are calling us or calling other programs and letting us know that there's maybe something happening.
Right.
What we do, though, that's important about it is we try to, at least on the day or close to the day, we do a little commemoration of sorts. Using the Adult Protective Services numbers that they have, we identify the number of cases that have actually been opened by Adult Protective Services. And we went from, in the last 3 years, we went from, I think, 51, 71, and 92 last year. And so next year, and 92 was from 2017. So this year we actually went down quite a bit. We were in the 70s.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's just a fluke, or is it helping that we're now out there and trying to be more aware. But what we do is identify the number of cases. We did it at Riverview in front of the Senior Resource Sign for a couple years, and then last year we did it in front at the courthouse, and that was wonderful. And we're going to continue to do that.
Yeah.
But we placed purple flags, and purple is the color identified for elder abuse for seniors. So.
We also work on a summit every year, usually in the fall. Talk a little bit about that.
So the summit was what started this whole process. It's called a Summit on Aging. It is something that actually was started at the state level, and it is, again, an education piece. It's a way of educating both the public and the professionals in the area who may not necessarily be aware. We really try to focus in on, for example, this past year, there was a change in the law that who was a mandatory reporter if there was some suspected abuse or neglect or exploitation. And that now includes bankers and EMS and a huge number of different ones. I can't even remember all of them. There's quite a list now. I always say, if you see it, you should report it, whether you're on the list or not. But our home delivered meal drivers, for an example, is one of them. Anybody that works in the service of serving seniors in any capacity is probably going to be on that list. But the summit, then we've done a lot of different things with education. We've brought in different people from all different areas, including detectives. Last year we brought in a lot of people from the Attorney General's office in the state, just to I think, like, again, here we are in Ohio and didn't really realize all the programs that are out there that could have been of help to us and are of help to us. So that continues. I think we've made some good relationships with some of the state folks, and I think that's a real positive for us. But the summit is an education. It's open to anybody. Seniors can attend it. We do encourage individuals that are in that group of reporters So we've tried to get the bank
Right.
tellers, but we also look at churches. A lot of people go to their
Oh,
churches. A lot of people go to their hairdressers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the bankers. I think financial planners was the other one that was identified as a new
Right.
Area that has to report.
Anybody that touches seniors, just to keep
Exactly.
their ears out. It's all about awareness and
And it's
keeping an eye out.
usually a full day event. And what we try to do is we try to we have lunch or breakfast, continental breakfast and lunch. And we also try to have like some activities and fun things that we do to help raise money, because we do try to raise, it does cost to put on those kind of programs. And we are starting to do things like our brochures and our little protocol cards. And we're just trying to start looking at helping and serving more seniors with actual issues. So.
You mentioned when you were talking about that and the mandatory reporters, your home delivered meals staff, and home delivered meals is such an important thing because it reaches those people who are homebound,
Right.
who don't necessarily get out as much as some
Right.
seniors do. So there is a promotion that goes on every March. Talk a little bit about March for Meals.
So we have the March for Meals. It is something that was started by the Meals on Wheels. It's called Meals on Wheels America now. It used to be called the Meals on Wheels Association of America, and they dropped the association just to confuse all of
Right.
us. But we still refer to it as MOA. And they came up with this idea of increasing awareness of the hunger, the senior hunger. Again, another one of those things, just like the abuse and neglect, I don't think people realize how many seniors don't always have. It's not even so much that they don't have the right foods, that they just don't even have a lot of foods. They don't have a lot of choices. We have a fair number of our clients, of the 250 or so clients we have a fair number of them that the meal that they get from us, and maybe somebody drops off a meal, is all they have. They don't have extra food sitting around.
Right.
And so yes, it's and the other neat thing about the Meals on Wheels program and the March for Meals is that it's not just about our seniors that are homebound, but also our seniors that do attend the senior centers. So we have the 6 senior centers, and we also promote that March for Meals during that. So.
And you always look for volunteers to go with your drivers?
Always. Our volunteer program is beefed up by our March 1st volunteer training, which we hope
Right.
everybody comes to. And then what we do with that is anybody in the community, anybody at all, that would like to ride along and help our drivers, they get to ride along and get to see what it's all about. And they can also go to the senior centers, and they can also come to our main office and help packing and things like that. So
Very valuable program. I know that. I can speak from experience. So thank
it's always
you.
a lot of fun too.
Yeah. All right. We are going to take another break, and we'll be right back. We're back. I want to thank Diane for being our guest today, talking about all the programs and services for seniors, although Project Lifesaver isn't just exclusively for seniors, but just all the stuff out there. It's one of the great things that I think we all love about our small communities is that we take care of each other, we keep an eye out for each other, and when somebody needs something, we can turn somewhere for help. And for senior resources in Ottawa County, their phone number is 419-898-6459. So take this information, whether it's for you yourself, somebody you know, somebody you live by, just pass the information on and spread the word and be aware. So again, until I see you next time, make time for health.